Hello, Wedding Wanderers. My name is Assumpta, and welcome to another episode of Ave Creations TV, Vlogmas Edition. This is a home for busy professionals and entrepreneurs who want to plan a timeless, sophisticated, and unforgettable wedding celebration or special event. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I missed a day of Vlogmas. I had to take a break because I'm actually very unwell. But I really want to keep going to give you the 12 days of Christmas that I promised. So here we go. In today's video, I am sharing 2 books that I think that you should read before you start your wedding planning. So if you want to hear more, then stay tuned. Let me begin by saying that if you're not a fan of the self-help genre of books, you might want to leave now. I don't want to ram anything down your throat. Even if you do like self-help and you don't necessarily agree, that's okay. I'm open to having a dialogue below. But I really do hope that these books help you. I read them before I got married. Heck, I read them before I even met my husband. But more of that later in the video. So the 2 books that I'm going to be talking about are, drum roll please, these 2. So we have the 5 love languages. Hopefully that has zoomed. It says how to express heartfelt commitment to your mate. This is an earlier edition, so it might say something different on the newer ones. And then the second one is things I wish I'd known before we got married. So both books are by an author called Gary Chapman. I'm going to talk about the 5 love languages first and then things I wish I'd known before I got married. So here we go. I should just say, as with all of my videos, these are just based on my opinion and personal experience, and I'll explain why I would recommend them. I've actually gifted this book to some of my couples when they join me, I should say. Oftentimes they will get a welcome gift or a gift nearer to their wedding or on their wedding day, and sometimes this is what I gift them, but each gift is different according to the couple. The 5 love languages was actually given to me by my mother when I was a teenager. This is my copy of it that I've had for many, many years now. Not going to tell you how many years. And I read it way back then, even though I was single at the time. And my mum had read it and recommended it to everybody in my family. And by everybody, I mean my dad and my brother and I. It was useful to her in particular, not necessarily just with regards to her relationship with my father, but also her relationship with us as her children. I would recommend this book because, before I go on, just a quick synopsis of this book, or the premise of the book. It basically breaks down the different ways in which people express and receive love, and how it helps you to understand that better, so that you're able to give love in the way that the person you care about or have a relationship with, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, would want to receive love, not just the way you want to give it to them. So the 5 love languages are, let's hope I can remember them all. Words of affirmation is one. Gifts is another. Quality time is another. Acts of service. And the last one I always forget, physical touch. So yeah, that's all 5 of them. Hopefully I will list them below anyway, or I'll have them beside me somewhere so you can see them. This book is really simple to read. It's easy to digest. And while there are Christian undertones in both books, I don't think you have to be Christian to read it or get something from it. It's general principles that I think are applicable to everybody. Some of the reviews that I've read or the criticisms I've heard are that people don't necessarily fit into one of the categories. I personally think everybody does. You may just have multiple love languages because we're multifaceted people. You don't have to have one, in my opinion. Yes, you might have one that outshines the rest of them, but it's okay if they're all kind of equal, or maybe 2 are equal. Don't be so critical of it in that way. I say just take the good and apply it to your life. I'll give you a personal example. When I first met my husband, I asked him to take the test I'll put the link below in case you've never heard of the 5 love languages and you want to know what your love language is. I sent him the test. Even though it was fairly early on in our relationship, I wanted to know how he best received love so that I would be giving him love in the way, if we got that far, in the way that he would be able to receive it. And I also let him know what my love language was so that it could be reciprocal. My love language is words of affirmation. His love language at the time came out as words of affirmation, but really and truly it's physical touch. So, which is funny because my least love language is physical touch. But because I know that's his love language, we're able to find kind of like a common ground in that regard. And he knows that my love language is words of affirmation, so he's always complimenting me. But he was this way actually even before he knew. But he says nice things, which I really appreciate. He encourages me verbally, and that way we are able to understand one another, and it really helps with our relationship. I found this book useful not just for romantic relationships, but also for relationships with friends and also with strangers. There are some people who, for example, when they're having a conversation with you, like to touch you or hug you and pat you. As I said, physical touch is my least love language, but it helped me to not get really angry with those people or offended, because I knew that that was just their way of expressing love. People that talk to you and are quite handsy. So I would just kind of bite my tongue. If it really bothered me, I would set boundaries. But I knew that it was probably them just liking me and wanting to show their love in that way. So it helps even for strangers and friends as well. So that's my first choice. You can read it once you are married. If you're married now and you're watching this video, or you know somebody who's married that you think can benefit from it, still recommend it to them. It can still help within your marriage. Or if you're engaged, or as I was when I first read it, single, you can read it then as preparation for your future relationships, not just romantic, as I said, but also friendships and colleagues as well. On to things I wish I knew before I got married. This book was written, as I said, by Gary Chapman, the author of the other book. And he's basically just sharing key principles and thoughts that he wished he had known before he got married. I am a firm believer, and have always believed this, that love is not enough to sustain a relationship. Despite the fact that I love love and romance and all the rest of it, love is not enough to sustain any relationship, which is why I would highly recommend reading this book before you get married. Whether you're single, engaged, even if you are married, you can still read it then. As I did say earlier, these two books have religious undertones, sometimes a bit more overt than necessarily undertones, because it has scriptures in there, but that's fine. I have a Muslim friend who has read the book and she found it super useful. I think if you're atheist, you could read it too. You can just ignore those parts, because the fundamentals, I believe, are helpful. A huge takeaway from this book, and I guess from both books, nobody gets married anticipating a divorce. As I like to believe, every divorce begins with the phrase, I love you. You get married saying I love you, and then it may end in divorce. We want to negate that as much as possible. I'm always praying for, whether my clients are Christian or not, I secretly pray for them because I want their love to last forever. I believe these two books can help you to strengthen your relationship going into it. A lot of people spend more time planning their wedding than their actual marriage. I have mentioned this in previous videos, and I really, really want you to prepare for your marriage. It's far more important, and don't get me wrong, your wedding is a very important day, but your marriage, which hopefully will last a very long time, is far more important than 1 or 2 days, depending on how long your wedding ceremonies are lasting. So it's really important that you put as much effort into planning for your marriage as you do your wedding day. So things I wish I knew before I got married helps you to go through that, from talking about finances to maybe delving into how your parents' relationship was, all sorts of things. The thing I really like about it is after each chapter, it gives you kind of like action points and questions / worksheets to go through that you can do together. So some people who perhaps aren't engaged, or if you're single, or maybe you're just in a relationship and you're not anywhere near married, you might think, why would I need to read this book? prevention is better than cure. You want to have these conversations early on in your relationship as opposed to when you're about to head down the aisle. That's not to say it wouldn't be useful to you when you are married. I have a friend who was married and experiencing a little bit of trouble in her relationship, and she read this book and it helped them to communicate. It formed the basis of their communications, and they were able to do the exercises and it strengthened their relationship. So I would highly recommend it. Using both of these books, it allows you to create a plan for your marriage. That's not to say that this plan might not go out the window at the first sign of trouble or an argument or a rocky time, but at least you have the plan. You might have something to fall back on when you're in the wilderness and you don't know what to do. I feel like both books and understanding the principles of both build a foundation for you to know that both of you are going to constantly change. But the thing is, you want to change and grow together. Constant improvement in a relationship is important. When people say, oh, you've changed, as though it's a bad thing, it's really strange to me because nothing stays the same. Literally nothing stays the same. And if it is, it means it's dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. So I think having these conversations early on to know that you are going to improve and grow together, and the way you start isn't necessarily how you're going to finish, I think is super important. And I believe that these books help you to have those conversations and set that foundation. As I said, I read some reviews and there were quite a few people that didn't enjoy the books, or some who have absolutely loved them, as evidenced by the fact that they have sold millions. But for the people who didn't like them, they'd probably say you were weird for reading them. But I personally think that there's nothing wrong with reading such books. You take from it what resonates with you and what helps you on your journey. There is nothing wrong with having frequent check-ins with your spouse or your partner or your friend to see how your relationship is going. Better that and have it frequently than, be silent for a few years and then it's too late to do anything, or much harder to repair the damage that may have been caused. So I just really want you guys to set a great foundation for your relationship and your marriage, and that is essentially why I'm recommending these two books to you. I enjoyed them and I truly hope that you do too. If you've read them, let me know your thoughts below. If there are any other books that you think you should read before you start wedding planning or before you get married, then please also let me know. My friend Olivia over at Newlyweds has recommended some books that you could read before you start your wedding planning journey / before you get married. So I definitely think you should check those out as well. They're quite different to my recommendations, but we love variety out here. So I will link her video below so you can have a look at that as well. And if you read those, please let me know. I haven't read her books yet, but I really want to, at least one of them. Thank you for watching this video. As I said at the beginning, this is part of my Vlogmas series. There will be 12 videos before Christmas Day. So check back here again tomorrow for the next video. If you are new around here, hit subscribe if you enjoyed this. Please share with somebody you think may find it useful. If you're not new around here and you've been here before but you're still not subscribed, you may as well hit subscribe if you keep coming back, and then hit the notification bell as well to be notified of when I upload more videos. I think that is it for now, and I will catch you in my next video. Take care.